Welcome to the second to last episode. I know I said that last night, but tonight I mean it. Tomorrow will be our final episode. And just in case you did not watch yesterday's episode, we would like to try to do some sort of recap on, the funniest or most interesting stuff that we've talked about over the last 92 or 3 days. And we would love your help. So if there are sections of any coronavirus journal that you think are noteworthy, send us a link to fstopperslive@gmail.com with a timestamp and just a little line about why you think we should add it in tomorrow. And I will go through all of those tomorrow. How are you doing, Patrick?
I'm exhausted. Today has been a tiring day.
You seem to have little hissy fits today.
Yeah, I just feel like today was rough.
And
some of it was rough, some of it was nice.
Yeah, let me think what was rough. So I asked you to go to the bank and pay our landlord.
Yeah, that took a while.
And then we had to go look at a yacht.
That was fun.
And then you had to order food. Is it fair to say those are the three things that you worked on today?
I've been working on a video that should be released in the next couple days.
Okay.
And of course, every time I throw a picture into Premiere, it's like my computer's lagging and freezing and I'm cursing, and I still have a little bit of work on that to do.
Okay.
And then, I had this game plan for dinner, and so I called the place to order dinner, and they're like, we're out of all fish. And the restaurant's called Pescaderia. Mm-hmm. It's primarily a seafood restaurant. I'm just like, oh my gosh. So last minute, I had to make shrimp tacos, and just kind of frustrating. I was supposed to call my parents today. There's just like all the stuff I should be doing, and I feel like I don't have enough time in the day. I get really frustrated with it all. And then it's like, when normally I could get other stuff done, like talk to my parents, I have to do this show. So I feel like this show's blocking off like 3 hours every night for 90-something days. It wears on me a little bit.
Well, guess what? Tomorrow's the last day, and you don't have to do it anymore. But whatever you do next, I'm sure you will say it's taking up your time.
Everyone's talking about my shorts every night. And if I just stand, these aren't that short. I don't know why people like to believe it's an optical illusion. If you think these are short, maybe tomorrow night I should wear some short shorts.
Oh, boy. Medevalevan, thank you for the super chat. In case you guys don't know, I guess we can kind of give people a little update. You have decided to fly into Orlando tomorrow, Sunday.
Going into the epicenter.
Yeah, and you're going to drive up because you believe that's safer than potentially
reconnecting in
somewhere.
Atlanta. And I need a rental. I probably need a rental car. Do we have a car in Charleston? There's a car that may not work.
It needs a new battery.
So I don't know. I feel like maybe I want a car for the first few days, and why not just go ahead and get it? And I don't know.
Yeah, but Florida is the new epicenter. I don't know of the world.
They keep saying this, but I'm seeing the numbers look the worst in Montana and in Arizona. We've talked about Arizona.
How can it possibly be bad in Montana? That doesn't make any sense.
Montana.
Let's go to the numbers.
I'm on covidexitstrategy.org. This is the new website that I've been using a little bit more often. If I can get this to work. And it tells me their 14-day trend. Wi-Fi is acting a little weird down here.
Okay, so Montana currently has a death rate of 19 per 1 million population. It is literally the third safest state in the union. Hawaii's number one with 12. Alaska has 16 deaths. Montana has 19 per 1 million population. So it's literally one of the safest states. I have no doubt.
Maybe it wasn't Montana, but it was a state up there.
Well, when any state has one case and now they have 2 cases, they've gone up 100% overnight. So I don't think that's really worth looking at.
Can't get this website to load.
Let's see who's really bad. And where's Florida in all of this? So Florida currently has 145 deaths per million. And then if we go up to New York State has 1,600. So, I mean, we're exponentially different. But I've got a quick video here that we can start out with to see the state of Florida and where we have chosen to fly into. Tonight at dinner, Katie was saying that she now doesn't want to go anymore. I don't know if she's being funny or not. I don't know how I feel about the whole thing, but we can watch this.
The governor says he will not shut down Florida despite a record number of new coronavirus cases. This is News 6 at 11. I'm Matt Austin.
And I'm Lisa Bell. According to the Florida Department of Health, the state saw the largest jump in new cases in 24 hours, reporting more than 2,700 yesterday. Taking a closer look at the numbers, 3 of the last 4 days have seen a record number of cases. Health leaders say 7.4% of new tests returned positive yesterday.
So
That's a good number, right?
Yeah, that's a good number, and you can see their threshold is 10%.
What does that mean?
Like they want to be doing so many tests that the positive rate is below 10%, and we're well below 10%.
Yesterday, the state wants the rate to remain below 10%. In Central Florida, Orange County continues to see the largest increase in new cases. Yesterday, the positivity rate in Orange County was 8.3%. And just hours ago, the governor addressed the rising cases. News 6's Troy Campbell is live in the newsroom with more on that. Troy?
Well, Lisa, Governor DeSantis says closing businesses again won't solve the issue of increased cases. He says that number is a result of increased testing and contact tracing. He also says there have been several clusters right here in Central Florida.
So he goes on to talk about what I believe is Orlando's airport. They recently did a test of all Orlando airport employees.
Yeah.
This is pretty scary.
Would shutting down the state stop some of the examples that I showed? I don't think so.
Governor Ron DeSantis saying despite Florida seeing its highest number of cases during the pandemic today, the state doesn't have plans on another shutdown or mandate on masks.
To suppress a lot of working age people at this point, I don't think would likely be very effective.
The governor says a recent outbreak at the Lake County Jail consisted of 100 positive cases out of 160 people tested. Without specifying which airport, Governor DeSantis went on to say a cluster was detected in Central Florida after 260 out of 500 airport workers tested positive for COVID-19.
So I'm going to believe that that's Tampa, right? An airport in middle Florida. I'm not going to say which one it is.
Yeah, it's either Orlando or Tampa. I mean, 50% of the employees have it? What in the hell? That's crazy.
Well, that's why I want to be in and out of that airport, and I don't want to be hanging around for a connection or...
So you're not second-guessing this plan?
I mean, I kind of am. Like, I think we're going a little mentally crazy here, just like being stuck in Puerto Rico, dealing with restaurants that don't have food, and the brain deadness that we often deal with here. It's like there's only so much I can handle. Like, I got to get out. I got to do something.
Dude,
even if it's...
when did our roles reverse?
Huh?
It's like we're talking into a mirror here. This was me talking to you a month ago.
I'm not saying I need to go to Disney World and I need to go to concerts and I need to
What do you need to do?
I just need like a different scenery. I need a different place. I need some different food.
You need to fly into the most dangerous airport in the
but,
world?
I mean, there's not many options here in Puerto Rico. Like, I can go to Atlanta. I feel like Atlanta's probably not doing too good. But I don't know, to be back in Charleston for a few weeks and have some good food, and then to like go to Alabama and see my parents and just be in their house and hang out with them and live a simpler life. I just feel like here...
It will not be a simpler life.
It'll be a simpler life for sure.
Nothing gets simpler than this.
Yeah, but here it's like I'm constantly just working.
No, you are not. Why do you act like that? We've done almost nothing for 90 days. This isn't work. We just sit here and yell at each other. This isn't hard.
I've been doing work. You're out like snorkeling and playing video games. I'm on the Skype with David trying to get like servers and stuff fixed.
Every day, all day, you're on the phone with
stuff
David.
Like that. It's like our accountant is David's asking us like, what are all these expenses?
No.
And I'm going through emails. It's just like petty little boring administrative work.
Yeah,
that just drains me.
Well,
and
guess
I'm like,
what? You have to do all that stuff in Charleston.
Not if I don't have an internet connection.
What are you talking about? David will be there face to face going, what are these expenses? Give me the login code for this. It's going to be the same stuff.
Maybe a little bit, but I don't know. I just feel like the server I could have probably set up in like a day. It's like not that hard. But when I'm on the phone with David and things are like conflicting, and I just feel like I would know how to problem shoot something from the ground up and say what's wrong and the steps. But like I feel like David doesn't know the system well enough, and I just answer the same questions, and it's like being a tech on the phone, and I could not handle that. If you're like, when your mom calls you and says, why do you think my Nikon camera is turning up black?
Yeah, she
and you're
does
like,
that
I have to
weekly.
go through 30 different things. It's mind-numbing stuff that I can only handle so much of it. And I feel like I don't want to just act like this is David alone. This is like CPAs. Our taxes aren't still done. We can't do our taxes because Puerto Rico hasn't made the software to do the taxes. And it's like, I just can't handle all this.
Nothing to do with going to Charleston for 2 weeks, though. I mean, I think you're getting yourself worked up over stupid stuff that's meaningless. Like, oh, I called for fish and they didn't have fish and I hate it here. I gotta go. When in reality, it's like you're gonna go to Charleston and that place is not gonna have fish too.
No, I like calling a restaurant and they're like, oh, you need a takeout order? What do you want? Boom, it's done. Here, it's like, it's the Puerto Rico thing. They don't answer 3 times, and they finally answer, and then they put you on hold, and then they need your phone number and all this information. Only then, once you've spent 20 minutes to tell you, we don't have fish. And I'm like, that's the only reason I'm calling your restaurant. And now, after this whole ordeal.
Listen, we've done many videos before. When dining out in Puerto Rico, you must lower your expectations. The restaurant that you tried to order from tonight, I ate live there last night, and it was fine.
Yeah, but you don't eat food. You eat like rabbit food, so it probably was fine.
It was fine. Like, I'm just saying, they had other things on the menu.
So on covidexitstrategy.org, I was wrong. It's not Montana. It's Wyoming. Wyoming has a 220% increasing rate of cases, which is the highest one. South Carolina has 100.
But look, Wyoming is the 4th safest state in the union. It only has 35 deaths per million. Of course, like, that's why you can't look at those numbers, because if you look at the percentages going up and then you go to states that barely had any outbreak at all, of course their percentages are going to go up high.
Well, they also have the ICU beds available, and Wyoming does say 40% capacity, which is normal. But if you go up to South Carolina, we have 120% increase there. 29% availability. This website also has, I don't know what this is. It's like influenza-like illness. And on this website, it says minimal, level 1. And I think that means that there's just not very many cases of influenza-like illness in the States. I don't quite know what that means. But if you find the link on this website that goes to, I think, like the CDC or something, they include Puerto Rico, which is not on this website, and Puerto Rico is at level 2. It has a higher elevated influenza-like illness level. So I'm not exactly sure what that means. Level 1 seems like the whole country's doing really well.
Yeah. All right, let me get caught up here on some of these super chats. Pacific Picture says, guys, honestly, best show on the internet. Hope you'll be back for a daily show soon. Loved every episode. Thanks for getting us through the crazy time. Thank you very much. Robert says, Joe Rogan's interview with Brett Weinstein, an evolutionary biologist. Watch it. Skip the first hour of politics and listen to science, its origin, the problems, and the scientific community. Amazing. Hashtag Team Patrick.
Is that from today? Because Joe Rogan's trending right now. And I think it has to do with something he said on his podcast back when he had like, can I say the Ghetto podcast? Is that?
What's the Ghetto
Like he was
podcast?
once in a room and they were just smoking weed and it
okay.
like wasn't the set that he has now.
Oh boy, he probably said something.
It was something racist.
Sexist or
no, it
racist
was something
and-
about apes.
Oh, I remember that. 'cause-
People are like bringing it up. I think now maybe they're actually talking about this podcast and Brett Weinstein was today, although that is not really what I saw a lot of the tweets about.
David says, "Don't crucify me, but why do you guys use Premiere instead of Final Cut? Seems like you both always complain about it. Because we use Windows." Tom T, thanks for the super chat. James says, "Thank you guys for the great streams." Rich says, "Watch Zach Arias's confession time video. He confronts his own racism. Blew me away. Great comments too." Okay, I'll check it out. Lindsay says, "Florida Airport made a statement that those numbers aren't true." Sending the link.
Sending the
So-
link in the where? To the email?
Yes, send the link to fstopperslive@gmail.com. Elvis says, "Lee and Patrick, you guys definitely need to do a podcast, please." We will. Oh, look, that's my face in gold. Sam Smith says, "What's the update on the lawsuit you dealt with?" Did their lawyers ever get back to our lawyers? Or they just, like, ghosted us?
Yeah, they just ghosted us and didn't respond. After they keep threatening us and making us pay for our lawyer to have, and it's like,
Like, how much have we lost now? A couple grand?
yeah, several $1,000s just to get on the phone
So
call.
infuriating. And, like, I guess technically it's still ongoing, and they'll wait for the pandemic to get really bad again. They'll just send us another email and like, "Hey, by the way, we're going to sue you." But I assume not. We've gotten some interesting. I probably shouldn't say anymore.
I wonder if there is a, what do you call it when something runs up? It's the phrase where like you can't do it anymore.
Statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations where after this is already, like, I think he's already well past the statute of limitations. But now that we've been formally threatened, in like a year, if they do nothing, is that like, okay, that's like in the past now?
Who the hell knows? Vid says, "Have you guys been to Gin Joint in Charleston?"
Yeah.
Love you guys. Yes, we have.
Is that still
I think I've
around?
only been there twice, though.
Gin Joint used to be the spot back when East Bay was the place, but nobody goes to East Bay anymore.
Robert says, "Brett Weinstein is an interview that is recent, really interesting. Lee would love it. So much stuff no one is talking about by an evolutionary biologist." Why would I love it?
Now you really have to watch.
I know. Okay, let's watch another video.
A little hard to see that one.
Yeah, what's that?
So this is in Portland, Oregon. If you go to the next video, you can see the daytime consequence of this. And notice a lot of the writing. So this is a statue of George Washington.
Now, people promised me that this was not going to affect George Washington.
Really?
And they said that it's not a slippery slope, and that's not an argument, Lee. And all we want to do is get rid of the Confederate statues, but we don't want to get rid of anything George Washington related. And I thought I said, well, how can you claim that statues have to come down based on racism when George Washington is definitely related to slaves and blah, 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 blah. And people are like, no, it's not.
You were
gonna
listening
go
to the
there.
wrong people, Lee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, who told you that? A bunch of white old guys?
I guess
Because that's not what we're doing. We're pulling down the statues.
Oh, wow.
Soon we will be burning the money.
Yeah. Man, it's like I was totally right.
Well, just wait till the next video. So here's where it gets a little weird for me. You're on native land. I assume this says give land back. Don't know what was up there. Oh, there's the book we've been reading. That you read.
Yeah? How far did you get in that book?
I'm kind of like in chapter 2 or 3.
So it sounds like you're done.
It's not grabbing my attention.
No.
And if it made me feel really, really bad, I probably still would be listening to it too. But there's something about the It's just not an interesting topic to me. Like the way that it's presented or something. I don't know. It's very, and maybe sometimes it's the reader.
Oh, I do not like the reader of that.
Like I've listened to some audiobooks and I'm like, man, I feel like the reader, the guy narrating it, it sounds like the author and it's so good. This one, it feels like I'm listening to these newscasts where they're just like, today in Portland, there was a statue pulled down of George Washington. And I'm like, I can only listen to so much. But what I want to say about this is, isn't it weird for any of us at this point? Like, can anyone be protesting George Washington and America, as stealing Indians' land and give the land back? Like, aren't we all of those people now?
Right.
All the Black Lives Matter people, like everyone in America, anyone that's been here for more than like a generation, we all did that. Like, if you want to start saying we have to contribute all of these sins to our forefathers, like, if you're an American citizen and you're like, I have the right to protest and I have the right, you did that. Like, you are part of the taking over of America and you are part of a better way of life that people wanted when they left England. Like, we're Americans now, right? Can you say give the land back when you yourself own a home, perhaps, in America? Like, it's starting to get weird, right?
Yeah, it's really dumb, and people would never be able to argue logically for these positions. They don't have positions. They just want to break stuff, and now's the time that they're allowed to break things and not get in trouble.
Well, that was a pretty good Joe Rogan video that I didn't include in here, but recently he talks about how I think a lot of people, they just go out there and they have rage and they just want to be a part of this movement. It feels like I'm part of something. But if you were to stop them, especially kids from really wealthy parts of the country, little neighborhoods in California where he's from, they really wouldn't know what the outcome is. Like, they wouldn't know what they really want. What are their demands? Like, they say no justice, no peace. And I think Joe Rogan was arguing, well, the cop that killed George Floyd is probably going to jail for the rest of his life. And justice was served, even if that may not be ultimate justice. It's the most just thing maybe in our society.
Well, most super liberals are against the death penalty. So if that guy gets life in prison, that would be the ultimate penalty they would.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, no jail time still equates to taking somebody's life.
I mean,
but it's the closest thing we have.
Yeah. Yeah. Christine says, for the last episode, will Patrick play some guitar for us?
I mean, I guess I could. I don't know. Setting that all up's a little
You have
difficult.
an acoustic here, right?
Yeah, but nobody likes acoustic. That's, like, not fun.
We could sing some Tiger King.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You got to learn to harmonize.
I can't sing. That's one thing I definitely can't do.
I can't either, but that doesn't stop me. Logan says, channel Patrick
Childress sailing. What is that?
Channel Patrick Childress sailing on the SV Brickhouse caught on Rona. I don't know what
Dude, you
this
can't
says.
read. Brickhouse caught Rona outside South Africa. Patrick passed away. Recent video explains what happened well.
What?
So, this dude, Patrick Childress,
oh, is that a name?
is a YouTuber who caught coronavirus outside South Africa. Sounds like he's a sailor. And the video shows what happened to him, and he just recently passed away.
You know who this is?
No, but I know how to read. And from context clues, I can put together.
There are no context clues in that. I don't know what the hell that says.
Was a slave owner. George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down? Excuse me. Are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him?
The title down there.
Both sides were very violent. Saturday, President Trump speaks on Charlottesville. What do you mean?
This was a statement like 3 or 4 years ago. When did Charlottesville happen? 2 years ago. So yeah. I saw this on Twitter. People were like, Trump predicted all of this.
Yeah.
That he is, and I guess you could argue, if you're a racist president who is going to allow this to happen, then you could predict it because you were the one who put it in motion.
But what in motion?
I don't know. A lot of people say that Trump
called the cop and was like,
No. A lot of people are saying that Trump's a racist and that he's been creating this divide in America for a long time, and that this is the outcome of Trump being a president. I would argue that this has been happening for much longer. I mean, all the Dallas cops, and like we had that one, what's the cop that's always on Fox News? David, with the cowboy hat, the black cop, the sheriff.
Oh yeah, I don't remember his name.
There's just all of these things happened too when Obama was president. There's been this like racial thing brewing for at least the last 10 or 12 years. So I don't think it's...
Yeah, and there's been this like overreaction and I'm outraged over everything movement that's been happening the last 10 years or so. And so of course it's going to lead to George Washington being erased from history. But the thing is that these people are hypocritical because they won't take down statues to Native Americans who did incredibly violent things, or to other religious leaders or religious figures in other religions who may have been related to slavery. They won't say anything or do anything about that because that would be bigoted, and we can't do something bad
I think
about.
we'll see a day where we're seeing dynamite stuck into Mount Rushmore. They're like taking down the president's faces. And
I mean,
the big one is in Atlanta, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, in Stone Mountain. They have this huge Confederate thing carved into the mountain. I don't know how you're going to remove that, but I'm shocked that's not in the news yet. We got to start making predictions these last 2 nights because
That's true.
be able to come back.
Good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner.
End of the video. Yeah, I mean, Trump's an incredibly smart man. What can I say? Logan says, hashtag Team Patrick because he can read. Shut up, Logan. Photog Mike says, Patrick going in on Lee tonight. Loved it. Team David.
Look at Logan with the gold Patrick avatar.
All right, read this one, Patrick.
Huh?
Read that one.
I can't. It's too far.
Oh, you can't.
He tried to troll you and it backfired.
We had a completely different cover story planned for the July issue, but the tragic death of George Floyd and just the public outcry and the call for justice, the protest, the unrest, it was just too big of a topic for us to ignore. We had to do something about it. So we turned to Kadir Nelson, who, when you look at his body of work, is just fantastic. He's one of the preeminent artists of our day right now. He focuses on African-American culture and history, and he treats it with such dignity and gravitas. We thought that he could come up with the perfect concept for our cover, and it was the perfect balance of what we needed for the cover. It sent a statement, a call for change, but it also reflects our culture right now and what the mood of the nation and the world is right now. We need change, and this cover communicates that.
I was very flattered to be asked to create a painting for the cover of Rolling Stone that would speak to what's going on in the world. I think that the Black Lives Matter movement is very important in that it's provoking a very long overdue conversation about race and its relationship to America. They wanted something that would be very hopeful and inspirational. I thought immediately of a painting by Jean Delacroix called Liberty Leading the People. A woman who is leading the French Revolution with a flag, raised flag. Her arm is raised, there's a boy next to her. So I wanted to create something in a similar vein that would have the same feeling and celebrate this tipping point in our history.
So people were outraged today over this cover.
Yeah, what is the reason for the outrage? I mean,
Well, the
I
big
first
one-
of all, his paintings are incredible to me. I love the style of his art.
Yeah.
But why is this offensive?
Well, I have an image here if you go to the next clip. It's not really a clip, but there's a JPEG or an image. So this is the cover of the Rolling Stone. And people are upset for so many weird reasons. The most obvious, what do you think is the most obvious reason people don't like this cover?
The woman's titties aren't out like in the original painting.
Yes. People are like, why do we not have black breasts on the cover? No. They're like, why in the world did Rolling Stone edit it to say Our Lives Matter instead of Black Lives Matter?
Yeah.
And then they're saying, what's up with all the American flags? Like, why does she have to have an American flag around her neck? And there's an American flag in the background, and this seems very patriotic. You know, it's not what the movement's about.
I would imagine that the artist and probably the magazine too didn't want to align themselves with some super specific group
That's kind of what the whole thing is, though. And then to do Our Lives Matter, it's like you're playing into that trap. I was super shocked because I didn't know who this artist was. I didn't even know this was a painting. I thought this was just some kind of graphic, you know. I was shocked that he was a black man that's really well respected within, you know, racial art, I guess, you know, or history, you know.
racial
I mean, it's art based on race. I mean,
Okay.
it's racial history. I don't know what you want to call it.
Okay.
So I just found it kind of shocking when I saw the video, and I was like, oh, like, people are really upset. It just feels like nobody knows what they're upset about. Like, it's so silly. I can see the Our Lives Matter thing, but people talking about, like, the scarf and the American flag, and it's like the America is suppressing her.
Oh, my God.
No, I mean, go on Twitter today and look up Rolling Stone and see all of the stuff that people are upset about. It's like...
So there is this...
They were also mad because it's modeled after a French painting with the white leader. That was another big part of it.
There's no way to win. You cannot win. And that's the thing. If you just give in to anyone who's offended, you will give in to every single thing. I mean, this is an amazing piece of art. Just let the artist do whatever he wants. There's this guy I'm Facebook friends with, and I don't know who he is. We've never spoken before. You know, I probably added him years ago. He sent me a friend request. This guy exclusively makes posts about race almost every day, and long before any of this. I'm talking about years. I have watched this guy show up on my news feed, and I've always been like, oh, I should just delete this guy. I don't know who he is. He's super negative. Everything's a racial issue. But I've become kind of interested in his take on everything. And he posted this, and he was outraged by this. This was super offended, and he was super offended by this. And then there's a big, I would say it's relatively new movement where calling people African American is now offensive because in many cases they don't view themselves as African. They're just Americans, and why aren't you called a white American or, you know, a
Maybe
European
they don't
American?
identify as American anymore.
Who knows? And so a lot of people, including people I know, say, I would prefer to be called black. So he posted some video that was saying that, and he was outraged at that. He was like, this is ridiculous. Like, calling people black is offensive, and you're holding people down. And I'm like, you cannot win. It's literally like you listen to somebody, and they're like, I would really appreciate if you would change the way you're doing this. And you're like, okay, I will do this for you. And then this guy over here is like, you're an asshole racist. How dare you do that? And I'm like...
Well, we had this conversation, I don't know if we had it on our show or if we had it off the air, about colored people and how offensive colored people is. And my fiance was like, you can't say that, Patrick. And I was like, I can't say colored people? And then I was thinking, you know, like when I was in high school and learning guitar, there was a band called DC Talk, and they had a song called Colored People, and it's supposed to be this song about bringing everyone together. One of the members in that band is black. Can't say colored people. And then you said, what about the NAACP? CP stands for colored people. And I'm like, should we change the name of that? Like, I'm so freaking confused. And people say, like, how can you not see how racist you white people are? And I'm like, how can you not see how confusing all of this is?
You have to put the of in there. Then it's fine.
People of color?
That's fine.
But then that's NAAPC, not CP.
Take it up with them. Photog Mike says, Dynamite will take care of Stone Mountain. James says, I didn't hear about the lawsuit story. What is the short of it? The short of it is a very well-known photographer is trying to sue us for an insane amount of money for literally promoting his work 8 years ago on our website, linking to his website, putting his name in the link. We have proof that he was happy that we did it and that he was sharing it, but now he wants tens of thousands of dollars. Janine says, since you didn't read my super chat, I'm protesting your show starting Sunday. I'm going to stop watching. Cross his arms. Humph. Did I miss a super chat?
From
Sorry,
today.
I can't go back now.
People are also saying that like the hymn Amazing Grace was written by a slave trader. And people were like, yes, no black people should be singing Amazing Grace. I just watched a clip recently. Maybe it was because of the anniversary of the murder in the Emmanuel Church in Charleston, that like Obama was trying to speak to the nation and he starts singing Amazing Grace. And I'm like, it's so ridiculous, the stuff that our country is fallen for.
Logan says, hashtag Team Janine, I am also protesting in solidarity and because you wouldn't read mine either. Patrick, can you read the end of that one?
Which one are you reading?
Just the end of this last super chat.
Yeah. Hooked on phonics worked for me.
Hey, good job.
Yeah. Wasn't that hard, Lee?
Across the U.S., thousands gathering Friday to mark Juneteenth, commemorating the end of slavery a century and a half ago. The day particularly significant after weeks of protests.
I'm sure I'm going to get reamed.
I know what you're going to say already.
I don't think I had ever heard of Juneteenth.
Oh. I thought you were going to say, why is Martin Luther King carved out of white marble?
No.
That's not what you're
No, I wasn't going there. Had you heard about it?
Yeah. It's on all of our phones. It's like a calendar. It's like a holiday.
You would think it would be a much bigger holiday. But I'm sure
It's growing. It's getting bigger. This is
well,
the biggest,
certainly now.
Biggest Juneteenth we've ever had. Did Trump recently say he's responsible?
Yeah. I mean, I hate to admit it, but the only reason I know of this now is because of Trump, because Trump was going to do his rally on Juneteenth and people were outraged, and I was like, what is that? I've never even heard of that.
Lee.
So, I mean...
You don't look at calendars,
Thank you,
so
Trump.
I guess
no,
you're kind of...
I never look at calendars. I hardly know what... I mean, like yesterday, I thought yesterday was Friday.
Against racism and police brutality in the U.S. and around the world, sparked by the death of George Floyd. Tulsa, Oklahoma in the spotlight this Juneteenth. Donald Trump's first campaign rally in 3 months was originally set for the same day in the city until it was pushed to Saturday amid vocal backlash. Tulsa, also the site of one of the deadliest race massacres against African Americans in 1921.
5 more years!
Tulsa health officials expressing concern in recent days about the potential the coronavirus could spread at Saturday's rally.
Look at that flag. What was that?
African Americans in 1921.
5 more years!
Tulsa health officials expressing concern in recent days about the potential the coronavirus.
I mean, is it... If you... Like, I don't really view the flag as like one of these sacred things. Like, I did a photo shoot once with the flag, and part of it touched the ground, and people brought it up like, oh my gosh, you should never let the flag touch the ground. And I try to be respectful. Like, I'm not disrespectful for the flag. But the previous flag they just showed had Trump's face like imprinted on the flag. Isn't that like a little extreme?
I mean, people make swimsuits out of American flags and stuff, so it's kind of weird how we treat the flag.
I feel like the swimsuit's a little less weird than like adding a person's image to the flag, right?
I don't know. I mean, putting Trump's face on Rambo's body potentially is the weirdest flag.
Could spread at Saturday's rally. The indoor venue expected to hold a crowd of some 19,000. Oklahoma already seeing a record rise in infections this week. Rally-goers have to sign a COVID-19 waiver saying organizers won't be held responsible for illness. And there's a further concern about the potential for unrest. On Twitter, Trump issuing a threat to protesters in Tulsa, posting, "Any protesters, anarchists, agitators, looters, or lowlifes who are going to Oklahoma, please understand, you will not be treated like you have been in New York, Seattle, or Minneapolis. It will be a much different scene." Ahead of Trump's rally, the city of Tulsa citing potential unrest, putting a curfew in place in the area around the venue where the campaign event is set to happen this weekend. But then, a sudden change of plans. Friday afternoon, the mayor of Tulsa saying he was told by U.S. Secret Service that the curfew was no longer necessary. That reversal coming after Trump tweeted, I just spoke to the highly respected mayor of Tulsa, who informed me there will be no curfew tonight or tomorrow for our many supporters attending the mega rally. For City News, I'm Melissa Duggan.
Wow.
What do you think is going on here? I mean, is this, when I saw this clip an hour ago, I was like, man, this is setting up to be like a really bad situation. I mean, they're saying I'm not going to treat this like some of these other cities, and if you're going to come here protesting and think that you're going to be treated like Seattle, you have another thing coming. And then it kind of sounds like he forced the mayor or made the mayor appear that like there's going to be no curfew. I just wonder, like, are we going to be closing out the show tomorrow night and being... I mean, I would imagine there's probably a lot of riots and protests there tonight so that when Trump rolls in tomorrow, the city's on fire, right? Like, tonight could be really bad in Tulsa. But what's going to happen tomorrow night? I mean, it'll be after we've wrapped up our last episode. Or do you feel like it's not going to be a big deal? Secret Service and the government's going to
I guess I just kind of feel like people kind of burnt themselves out on the protesting.
I don't know.
No?
Not the ones that want to be protesting. Maybe the ones that truly want change for, you know, for our police and stuff, maybe. But the ones that are doing all the anarchy and the craziness on both sides, I think they're all going to show up tomorrow night.
There's good people on both sides.
There's bad people on both sides, too.
Photog Mike says, the ink is black, the page is white. Together, we learn to read and write. Daniel says, can we get an Easter egg hint of this photographer? Like a video 8 years ago link? Team Photog Mike tonight. No, I was very angry at this photographer for doing this to us. And I thought long and hard about just immediately coming out with a video explaining the whole situation. But one, I don't want to be vindictive. But two, I mean, if he's willing to sue us for that, for promotion, then who knows what he'd be willing to sue for libel, you know? So I'm trying not to stoke the fire.
It's not Peter McKinnon, though. I don't even think Peter McKinnon was making content when this happened.
Or is it Peter McKinnon and you just said that? Let me see. Stats from the rally. So this is probably total BS, but they're saying that 20,000 people are going to fit in the arena for Trump's rally.
Okay.
So CNN does a little like math to try to figure out how many people are going to get COVID because of this.
Okay.
Look at the data, look at what's happening in Oklahoma right now, get an idea. And what you'll find is that probably about 100 people may show up already infected. John, I know you always like to learn new things. There's this principle called Pareto Principle, and it means that 20% of those infected are liable to generate most of the infection spread. So now 20 people out of 100 people, let's put up these numbers. 20 people out of 100 people are going to be the biggest spreaders at a stadium like this. Given all the different risk factors, they're likely to spread it now to 40 or 50 people each. Okay? So what does that mean? After that event, 800 to 1,000 new infections are likely to occur as a result of an event like this. And then what happens? Those 800 to 1,000 people then go back to their homes, they go back to their communities, and they start to spread it even more. This is the anatomy of an outbreak. This is how these things occur. So if you're one of those 20,000 people and you think, I have a 1 in 20 chance of potentially becoming infected. Again, these are just calculations. No one can guarantee or say that this is how it's going to unfold for sure.
Why do they do this? Is this CNN and they would do it regardless because this is the type of stuff that people tune in for?
They're not doing this for the protest.
Did they not?
I've not seen them say, we've estimated that there was 100,000 people outside, and we are finding that less people are spreading it outside, but take a look at how many people are screaming, and with this tear gas, it's making people cough.
But we saw videos like that. We maybe not outlined exactly like they did, but a month ago, that's what we were talking about. Check out this new story about our cases going to go up because of the protest. I mean, I'm having a hard time knowing what 20,000 people look like. I guess I could put myself in a concert venue. When you see those protests, like one that stood out was Philadelphia, where the street goes on forever. Is that 20,000? Is that more than 20,000 people?
I imagine that's hundreds of thousands.
100,000 people?
More. I would guess more.
Really? I mean, I've seen pictures, aerial shots of like Bonnaroo, and I think that's like 60 to 80,000 people. That's a lot of people, you know. But I think in some of these cities, you probably had more than 20,000 people. But I just look at this and I'm like, is this the news being biased and like look at CNN going after this Trump rally, or CNN and all news agencies are just digging for the easiest viewership. And they did this back then too with the protesters. Maybe they didn't like put a number on it because they weren't like, tomorrow 60,000 people are showing up. But when they show those crowds, they most certainly were talking about the infection rates going up.
Yeah, but they're not doing the math on like, you have a, what did he say? You had a 1 in 20 chance of catching it if you go?
I mean, I know where you can go if you want to just go ahead and get the virus. I mean, if you just want to get it over with.
I got to go to a super spreading event.
Dude, if you showed up at a Trump support rally,
I could live stream it.
Oh man, I'd have to disown you. Like, you would ruin our whole channel. They'd be like, Lee is at a Trump rally.
No, I'd be reporting.
Can you be that? I guess you could. You would think you should be able to do that,
Yeah.
but
People would be outraged. This Trump's baby racist tweet, I also got this. Does this show the original that was like edited and everything? Okay, so we'll watch yours.
How low can you go? That's the question some are asking after somebody doctored that touching video of two little boys hugging and posted it with the offensive caption, "Terrified toddler runs from racist baby." And to make matters worse, President Trump retweeted it to his 82 million followers. Here's the latest on the offensive post.
President Trump is under fire today.
So can I just say, I heard about this, but I didn't know what it was. And the way it was explained, in headlines and stuff, was Trump took footage of like two different race babies hugging and made it look like one was running from the other, like the black kid was running from the white kid. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's horrific.
Right.
Why would he do something like that? And then I still hadn't seen it. And I watched a video of Acosta fighting with Kaylee. We'll play it in a second. And he's like, why would he put this thing? And she's like, it's just a joke. It's pretty funny. And he's like, what's funny about it? And I'm like, yeah, what's funny about taking babies and making them look racist? But then I saw it and I was like, oh, this is obviously a joke. And it's like a joke on the liberal media.
Yeah, that's what I read from it. I mean, all I saw was this art video, but...
For reposting this doctored video of two adorable children. The original recording shows the toddlers embracing each other on the street in New York City. It went viral last year and warmed the hearts of millions across the USA. But now it's being altered to have a different meaning. The doctored version that President Trump tweeted contains this falsified CNN headline reading, "Terrified toddler runs from racist baby." The point of the video was to make a satirical political statement.
So far, they are leaving off the end of this video. Does it continue?
Oh, I don't know.
See, this is the bull that they're doing.
Well, this is what I don't like about, and the guy who creates this video has something about it, but they say like altered video or doctored video, and I'm like, no, it's just more of the video.
Well, it's the end of the video.
Yeah, like that's not doctored.
But it's doctored because they put the fake CNN stuff at the bottom.
Okay, but that's what all memes and internet culture does.
Right.
You know?
This is obviously
meme was
a joke.
Doctored. The guy's looking back at the other girl, and they put a different text above the bubble.
Yeah, but the way that Inside Edition is currently portraying this, you might think that this is a real headline from CNN. Terrified toddler runs from racist baby, and then you see the clip. If I saw that, I might even think like, damn, CNN has reached a new low.
Yeah.
But this is not the full clip. Let me continue watching.
And about fake news, which is one of Trump's major talking points, particularly
they
when
just
attacking
left it
CNN.
out.
He was making a point about CNN specifically. He was making a point that CNN has regularly taken him out of context.
All right,
But now
so hold on. We are going to watch the other clip that shows the full video and makes it obviously a joke.
All of this is happening as the president is also stirring up some new controversy on social media as well. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right. Overnight, Twitter posted a warning label on another tweet from President Trump, this time calling it manipulated media, basically that it's designed to mislead. The clip posted by the president shows a viral video, there it is, of those two toddlers, one black, the other white, hugging. You may have seen this one before. But in this new version, it's layered with ominous music and a fake CNN.
So right now,
there's the same narrative, right?
Yeah, but look, they're putting this Facebook remove Trump thing right over this. So you can't even read what it says back there.
Yeah.
But listen to what the guy says, because watch, it's going to change. The text at the bottom is going to change.
And graphic that reads, racist baby, probably a Trump voter. The original real...
See, probably a Trump voter. The second you read that, you realize it's satire.
Oh, I see what you're saying. The end of the video, the end of the little GIF or whatever this is, it's not like the kids do something else.
No.
It's just the title at the bottom changes.
But that's hugely significant. That takes it from being like, did CNN really write something that offensive to,
I get it. That's kind of the joke. That's the punchline.
Yes, is that he's
like
probably
if you
a Trump
took
voter.
any comedian's like sketch and you cut out the punchline and leave the build-up that's super offensive and awkward,
right,
and just left it at that, you'd be like, well, that was weird.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to remember what my clip is a little bit longer. I'm trying to remember what else was in it. I think they kind of go on to some other.
Oh, you know how you love those long clips.
I just feel like they're thorough. I don't want to like leave something out.
Point about CNN specifically. He was making a point that CNN has regularly taken him out of context.
But now the parents of little Maxwell seen in the video are expressing outrage. He will not turn this loving, beautiful video to further his hate agenda, Michael Cisneros says of Trump. So who doctored the video? It was apparently created by a Trump supporter named Logan Cook, whose own bio calls himself eternally sarcastic. He writes, content that I post was doctored by me. This comes on the heels of another Trump social media uproar after Facebook removed campaign ads featuring a red upside-down triangle. The symbol was once used by Nazi Germany to identify political opponents, and Facebook said it was violating our policy against organized hate. However, the Trump campaign defended its use, saying this is an emoji. It's also a symbol widely used by Antifa. It was used in an ad about Antifa. It's been a turbulent week for the president, and in an effort to bring some positive press, he sat down for an interview with his son, Don Jr., for a Father's Day special of his podcast, Triggered.
With Father's Day coming up, we have a great opportunity to sit with the most powerful father in the world.
The president issued a warning about what he believes will happen if Joe Biden is elected.
There will be tremendous negative growth. There will be tremendous bedlam all over the place. There won't be law and order. You'll have a Seattle. You'll have a Minneapolis like you've never seen before. The whole country will be Minneapolis.
The whole country will be Minneapolis.
I mean, is he starting to give his like final predictions before he's out of office? And people will look back and be like, Trump was right.
I don't think so. Merlin says Trump's threat will cause even more protests. I could see that. Logan says, I want to see Lee wrestle McKinnon. Call out McKinnon. I still haven't talked to him. Like, we've been trying to hook up, but he doesn't ever use Facebook, and that's the only social media I use, so we've never actually spoken to each other. But if he does jiu-jitsu, I'll wrestle him.
That would be crazy.
Carl Hancock says 19,000 people is basically a sold-out NBA game. It's a lot of people in an indoor arena. Perfect environment for spreading the Rona.
I did look up on my phone, and sure enough, there is the upside-down triangle emoji. I was thinking like there probably is an emoji.
Well,
And
I had a video that actually showed the Antifa triangle. Yeah, right here.
Well, this video doesn't show the Antifa triangle, right? Oh, it has it at the end. It has like Antifa written over it.
Yeah.
Is that what they're using?
I don't know. It's just like the other day you brought it up and then you said that the Fox News was wrong and Antifa does not use the triangle, but then they show it here.
CNN graphic that reads, racist baby, probably a Trump voter. The original real story from last year was about a friendship between the two toddlers. And it comes the very same day that Facebook removed a series of Trump campaign ads that featured an upside-down red triangle, a symbol used by the Nazis to identify political prisoners during World War II. Facebook said that those ads violated the company's policy against organized hate. The campaign insists it was used.
So I can type in Antifa logo and scroll for a long time, and I see red and black flags, but I never see this. This almost feels like this was made to justify it. Like, here's what Antifa's logo looks like. I can't find that anywhere, and I would think it would exist today because people are posting that within Google, and like that logo would show up a few times, but I can't find that logo that's on the screen right now one time under Antifa logos on Google. I also have yet to see this ad. Like, I'm more curious than ever to see where this thing appears and what it's like in there, you know?
It's definitely full of hatred.
What do you think people use the emoji for, though? Like, we don't have a swastika emoji. That doesn't exist. But we have, you know, other emojis that insinuate things.
Yeah.
So is that emoji a racist emoji? Or, like, when would anybody ever use like a yield sign triangle?
We have to cancel it immediately. Somebody call Apple.
I mean, there are some weird-ass emojis that you're like...
Well, we should look into the history of them all. And anyone that is offensive, we need to talk to Tim Apple immediately. So this clip is it Jim Acosta fighting with Kaylee, whatever her name is? It's fairly entertaining.
Will any White House officials be at the rally tomorrow?
There will be several White House officials at the rally tomorrow.
Will those officials, or will you be there, for example?
I will be there.
Will you and other White House officials be wearing masks at the rally?
It's a personal choice. I won't be wearing a mask. I can't speak for my colleagues.
And why won't you wear a mask? Is it sort of a personal political statement? Is it because the president would be disappointed in you if you don't wear a mask?
It's a personal decision. I'm tested regularly. I feel that it's safe for me not to be wearing a mask, and I'm in compliance with CDC guidelines, which are recommended but not required.
And if I can ask you about last night, the president tweeted out some fake videos, one of which was labeled manipulated media by Twitter. Why is the president sharing fake videos on Twitter about two toddlers who are obviously showing a lot of love for one another? It seems as though he's exploiting children to make some sort of crass political point. Why is he sharing fake videos?
He was making a point about CNN specifically. He was making a point that CNN has regularly taken him out of context, that in 2019, CNN misleadingly aired a clip from one viewpoint repeatedly to falsely accuse the Covington boys of being, quote, students in MAGA gear harassing a Native American elder. That's a harassing video, a misleading video about children that had really grave consequences for their future.
So you're saying it's okay to exploit two toddlers hugging one another on a sidewalk to make some sort of political point? I mean, as you know, the president has described members of the press as fake news during the course of this administration. When you share fake videos like that, doesn't that make you fake news?
I think the president was making a satirical point that was quite funny if you go and actually watch the video. I think he was making a satire. The point is it was a play on CNN.
Like
it's like they have no sense of humor at all.
Like, what's so funny about exploiting toddlers? You're like, we joked that they were Trump voters.
I mean, I love racial comedy. Recently, Chris and I were watching, she'd never seen...
Whoa there, Patrick.
She's never seen the Richard Pryor shows. And I'm like, dude, Richard Pryor is a comedic genius. And you watch it, and it's all about the white man and everything. And I sit there and laugh. I'm like, this is hilarious. It's funny. It's supposed to make you feel a certain way. But I can't get behind this at all, you know? Like, before all the racism stuff, 5-10 years ago, we had all the politically correct stuff. All these comics like Chris Rock and Jerry Seinfeld, all these people were like, I can't go to college. I will not go to a college and do a comedy routine anymore because they don't get it. They boo you and they say it's insensitive. Like, they don't let a comic be a comic.
Yep.
And I totally agree with it. And now we've included racism in there. And I bet you it's going to be divided to where Richard Pryor type comics can do their sketches and be okay, but white people won't be able to do the same thing. And then you say, well, what's going to happen with Aziz Ansari? Like all these other ethnic groups.
Right.
I'm like, it's comedy. That's what it's supposed to do. Now, there are times where you have, what's Seinfeld, Richard, where he like goes off on the...
Kramer?
Yeah, he goes off on the guy in the audience, and you're like, whoa, that is something, like, that's something else, you know?
Yeah, it's not even funny.
Yeah, like you have to make sense of it, but when it's written out and it's, deliberately written and performed that way to get that reaction, I'm like, that's what comedy is. And these little memes and these little videos, that's kind of what they are, They're these like little mini digestible things.
It's very strange that our president tweets out memes and stuff. But
that's strange. I would prefer that no president ever did that.
But to pretend like you don't understand that it was a joke, and how could you even insinuate that this is funny? What's funny about taking children and making lies out of these children? Like, come on, man. It's not what happened at all.
And repeatedly taking the president out of context. Like the time when you guys had a chyron that read, Trump slammed some illegal immigrants. They're animals. Well, guess what? The people he called animals were MS-13 illegal immigrants who regularly mutilate people in this country. Those things are entirely misleading.
Pointing out the president has referred to some Mexican immigrants as rapists. He has tried to pass a Muslim ban in this country. He has described black NFL players as sons of bitches if they take a knee during a football game.
That's an absurd attempt to justify the misleading headlines that are regularly on your network. Like I was just walking in, watching CNN as they lauded.
Like, isn't this crazy that this is happening?
Yeah. Well, we just heard that headline last night. It's like, they're animals. And you and
Yeah.
I were both like, where did that seems so out of place.
Yeah, they're still doing it. I mean, I am not a fan of Trump, but you don't have to make stuff up and pretend to be offended about dumb stuff. He does lots of stuff that's actually offensive. Just get him on that stuff. You don't need to lie every day.
She says something here at the end that's good.
I don't remember.
Quote, rallies in the streets.
Are you saying that the president
Gotta let me finish,
stokes
Jen.
this
This isn't a cable news segment. I'm answering your question right now from the White House podium. When I walk out of here, when I walk out here, Jim, and I see on your network celebratory headlines about the rallies and the protests outside, and you actually said protests and rallies. So in light of a protest, if these gatherings happen in light of a protest or a rally, as you say, that rally is to be condoned, but not the president's rally. I mean, it's appalling. You have one person on your network saying that this is a celebration in the...
I love the fact that she is so prepared. She knows.
How is that possible? Is there like an iPad or a device where they can just pipe stuff in? Because how could anyone...
There's a team of people like, here's the comebacks you need to get these guys. But she just, I mean, Trump does dumb stuff every day. And then she's like, CNN is going to try to get a headline because he made a racist tweet about toddlers. So she's like, I need to come up with 5 comebacks where CNN has wronged children or whatever.
Streets, a carnival-like atmosphere. There's a guy with a sign that says free hugs. It's beautiful what's happening in the streets. There's music. People are hugging. You celebrate hugging in the context of a protest, but in a Trump rally where we celebrate historic low African-American unemployment, criminal justice reform, HBCUs, that rally's not allowed because guess what, Jim? It doesn't fit the ideological agenda of CNN.
Damn. Roasted. What's her name? Is it
Kelly
McKinney or something? She is feisty. Let's see. Paul says, making real money with photo. Enjoying the video very much and going to apply what I learned to making money. Do you guys have any suggestions or hints for business in the Baltimore, D.C. area? Nothing specific to that area. Just, all the advice that we give every time people ask this. Go out, do personal projects. If you're not getting hired, do incredible work that will get people excited to hire you later. Cruiseman's Garage says, why is CNN so concerned about Trump supporters getting Rona? Yeah, I have talked to some liberal friends who have said, like, they are happy that Trump is doing this because it will...
cause him to lose the election. All his voters will be dead.
Well, what did they say? Like, something the herd?
Herd immunity?
No. Like, people will die.
Weeding out the herd? Or
there's a statement there. It's not weeding out the herd. It's not shearing the herd. It's...
clearing?
You know what I'm saying. It's not that either. But they're suggesting that, like, yeah, Trump voters will die, and I'm not going to cry about it or whatever. I didn't say that.
Thinning out, I think.
Thinning the herd.
Thinning
there you
the
go.
Herd.
Photog Mike says, Jim Acosta is the White House sub with Kaylee and Trump being the doms. I guess the submissions and dominance. James says, search Antifa Utrecht on Facebook. They use the red triangle. Aha! So Trump was right. David says, Black Lives Matters and PC culture has hijacked the Dems. Leave it. I mean, to an extent, I have seen it with very close friends of mine they become so woke that they paint themselves into these corners, you know, where it's like, yep, everybody that has a history of racism, they have to be deleted from history. And then you start naming people that they, you know, would never say a bad thing about, and they're like, oh, well, you know, that's culture, and we're not going to touch those people. I'm talking about our society. I'm not talking about their society and everything. So, yeah.
I'm going to go to our Apple TV here.
Okay.
My sister has texted me something really interesting. The Dow Jones Index was down today.
Okay.
It was down.
What are you just saying? That's a big...
Today.
That's the first time in a while?
No, I'm saying it's pointed down with a red triangle.
Oh, I didn't get it. Yes.
Yeah,
So it's racist. It must be canceled.
I guess that's what the emoji could be used for then, is up and down. Like, is there a green... It would only make sense if there's a green up arrow, but I don't know if there is.
There probably is. Here's some news about the coronavirus overall.
The pandemic is accelerating. More than 150,000 new cases of COVID-19 were reported to WHO yesterday, the most in a single day so far. Almost half of those cases were reported from the Americas, with large numbers also being reported from South Asia and the Middle East. The world is in a new and dangerous phase. Many people are understandably fed up with being at home. Countries are understandably eager to open up their societies and economies. But the virus is still spreading fast. It is still deadly, and most people are still susceptible. We call on all countries and all people to exercise extreme vigilance.
So basically everything is worse than it's ever been. And you're flying where? To the most dangerous airport in the world tomorrow? Sunday?
Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, so what's going on?
You're doing it too. Don't act like... I'm going to have the mask. I'm going to have the face shield. We're going to sanitize everything as best as we can. And I was like, well, I'm like, Kristen and I, we're not going to eat or drink on the plane. I'm going to just treat it as like nap time, watch a movie. And then we get out of that airport, get the rental car, and...
The rental car is going to have like a COVID corpse in the trunk?
I mean, I'll wipe down the steering wheel, but... They're saying, the new science is saying you can't get it from surfaces. It's so unlikely. I'm not that worried about being in a rental car. Like, how far do you take it? I'm worried about being in a tight space with a lot of people, like the Trump rally. I would definitely not be going to the rally.
Just seems like you're being a little selfish right now.
Selfish?
Yeah, it just seems like you're putting yourself, your family, and your friends at risk.
Why don't we film what our experiences are, and we'll see who's the least selfish and the more selfish.
Maybe we should. Maybe we should.
So I don't have a lot about this next video that you were just on, this was trending on Twitter today, where I don't know where Moundsville is. It's like a town of like 6,000 people, but they showed off their new MRAP truck. I don't even know what this is, but people were like, "Why in the world does a police department need this?"
Is there any audio? Can I cut the audio?
Yeah, there's nothing on this, but I just wonder, like, people were saying this might be, like, used for EIDs and stuff.
I mean, this is probably the guy from Dorado with the golden tank. That's probably what he had.
But this is the police department.
What is that for?
I don't know. I mean, but...
So crazy.
I think when we talked about this a few days ago, aren't a lot of these police departments using this as a defensive tool? Like, they're not taking this out and taking people's rights away from them.
It's like when there's an active shooter, they would drive that and be in safety in the area. Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense.
And, maybe we could look at the demographics of this town. If it's primarily white, I mean, we all know that most mass shooters are white. So maybe it makes sense to have this in a white city. Countryside where all these crazies are.
Yeah.
Can I say that, or is that racist towards like whites?
I mean, you're definitely
the racist hillbilly.
Yeah, you're definitely racist.
School shooters.
Somebody just sent us a text here. Let's see what this is.
hostage situation, I guess. But what do you? That truck's still so over the top. But if you have these trucks and the government doesn't need them, or they're giving them away in some way, right? I don't think our army, or I don't think our is that a Freudian slip? I don't think our police department should be buying those trucks. But if they are gifted or something, I don't know that. I would take that truck if somebody said, "Hey, do you want this truck for like $5,000?" Maybe I would be like, for $5,000, maybe I will take it.
Dude, I would take that for $30,000.
Really? You would buy that?
Yeah. Did you see it?
What
that truck's awesome.
Do you think it could get up our hill?
Dude,
Definitely.
it could definitely get up our hill. It could just drive up the mountain where there's no roads.
Mine resistant, ambush protected. That's what MRAP stands for.
Logan says, we have to get rid of the color red and triangles now. Sesame Street is effed. David says, market is down because Apple is closing stores again due to the rise of COVID cases just after reopening them last week. Time to buy some of them SP500 puts, Lee. You know what? I just might. And look at this right here.
Yeah, Scott, some news here from Apple that it's going to temporarily close some stores again here, Scott, due to COVID-19 spikes. We're talking about 11 stores starting tomorrow in Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Arizona. That means over 200 stores of the 271 stores would still remain open here. Remember, Apple in total operates 511 stores around the world. Remember, Apple always did emphasize as it reopened these stores here, Scott, that the company would follow the data, follow the guidance of experts, and if warranted, would close some stores again. They're doing so now. They say we take this step with an abundance of caution as we closely monitor the situation, and we look forward, Apple says, to having our teams and customers back as soon as possible. Scott, back.
So,
your wife's texting me saying that she sees that car could be useful in like severe storm situations.
There you go. Wait, Katie's just sending you texts?
Yeah, she does that sometimes. Sometimes your wife
Does she send them to me too? Oh yeah, I'm in there too.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, that time she did, but
I think that's it.
Is there anything
I think
else?
we hit all of the videos.
Number 10 you didn't do.
Oh, you're right.
Probably 7 or 8 weeks away from Joe Biden making a choice for the vice presidential slot. Should Joe Biden return to Minnesota, as Democrats have in the past, choosing Democratic Senator Hubert Humphrey from Minnesota for vice president, then choosing Walter Mondale for vice president? What case would you make at this point in the campaign for the senior senator from Minnesota as the vice presidential candidate?
You know, Lawrence, I have never, as you probably know, on many, many shows since I endorsed the vice president on that joyful night in Dallas, I've never commented on this process at all. But let me tell you this, after what I've seen in my state, what I've seen across the country, this is a historic moment, and America must seize on this moment. And I truly believe, as I actually told the vice president last night when I called him, that I think this is a moment to put a woman of color on that ticket. And there are so many incredibly qualified women. But if you want to heal this nation right now, my party, yes, but our nation, this is sure a hell of a way to do it. And that's just what I think after being through this in my state.
Did it seem like she was crying because she was giving up the job she really wanted?
She did seem like really on edge. Is that what you read into it? Because people are saying that. I think people in the comments are saying that like she quit or got fired, or he already told her she wasn't going to be nominated.
Yeah.
But did she just throw everyone else under the bus by saying like, I really think it needs to be a black woman? So like every other person.
Dude, under these circumstances, of course.
If you're Elizabeth Warren, you're like, damn it, this is not what I need. Maybe she is a person of color though. She's Native American.
That's true.
This was a tweet about this that I thought was kind of interesting. This was all going viral this morning, and I just saw this tweet many times. It says, literally saying you should eliminate a woman based on her color. I heard that right from Amy Klobuchar tonight. That is the most anti-progressive bullshit we can engage in. If it is a black woman, hallelujah. If it's somebody else, hallelujah. But don't eliminate someone based on the color of their skin. I mean, I feel like he was already kind of tricked into a debate where one of the moderators was like, are you going to say here tonight that you will nominate a female to be your running mate? And you're kind of like on the spot. And he's like, yes, I will do that. And
Why do you have to say that? Why can't you just be like, I haven't decided yet?
Well, the way that it was probed and questioned that night, was it the last debate with him and Biden? Is that, or with Bernie Sanders? Is that when it happened? I just remember it happening and being like, oh, wow. They just kind of pigeonholed him into saying he has to say yes to this.
Well, they pigeonholed both of them into it. They pressured both of them, and they both seemed uneasy about the question.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
But then it's a weird environment where if you are a feminist and you're like, we need a woman to be vice president. We want a woman president. Vice president's very close to being the president. And then now you're like, a lot of the people we really were pushing for are now undermined because it's got to be a black president, black female. What if they're like, it needs to be a non-cis black female? Like you could just start adding all these identifiers to it and you're like, wait a minute. Are you trying to make him pick one specific person now?
Yeah.
Who is it going to be?
Yeah.
And then people are upset with Kamala Harris because she did a lot of stuff in California to like not really take care of the police issue and put a lot of people in jails and stuff. Like it's kind of like we're talking about with these slave owners that are the founding fathers, is if you dig deep enough, you can find dirt on every single one of these people.
Sure. Logan says soon, white paper will be racist. Stockpile canary paper right now to get ahead of the rush. I don't know what that is. He says invest in canary-colored stocks. It's canary paper of color stocks, Logan. Anything else that you have to talk about?
We're also going to be ending the show on a weekend, which means we're kind of done with the market.
That's right.
I keep thinking to myself, like, hearing the guy in the car today talking and, like, just seeing where the market is right now, I just keep thinking, like, I don't want to short the market, I think he was talking about naked calls. Is that where you have the chance for unlimited loss?
I think puts is what he was doing, but
I was just thinking today, I was like, one thing you can do if you think we're at an all-time high is you can lose the upside, but instead of shorting and doing all these inverse things, I could just sell all my positions and sit in cash. And I was like, should I start doing that? Or should I start buying gold? Like, will gold plummet overnight, or will gold just kind of sit steady, worst case scenario? Because it does feel like, man, if we're at the point right now where COVID isn't like back, and a lot of people, we've had stuff on our on this channel about politicians saying we are not going to close down the country again. We can't close down the country again, but we can. If airlines are like, this is insanity, like this wave is worse than it's ever been, airlines are going to go all the way down. Restaurants are going to be like, there's no way, none of our workers will come in. Like, there may not be a government shut down the country, but if it starts getting bad enough, people are going to say, like, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. I'm now choosing to stay at home.
Eventually, there's a lot of people who don't believe that this is a real thing.
Yeah.
Eventually, a family member will get it, and all of a sudden it will become real to everyone, if it gets bad enough. Hopefully it never will get to that point. But
I just wonder what the upside is. Like, you keep saying it's crazy that we recovered all the way back up, but it's crazy to think we are even where we were back then, because where we were back then was crazy.
Yeah.
You're saying this is all like an inflation bubble to begin with.
Yeah.
And so what is the upside? Do we really think that the economy in a couple months, the stock market could be way higher than it's ever been? Like, that makes no logical sense.
Right.
And I've heard people, I think this was brought up today, about like the Robinhood investors. Are they really big enough to really manipulate the market to any major degree? Or are they just such a small amount?
I wouldn't think so.
I don't know. So if we ever do a recap, I'll have to let you know if I sold. So I'm kind of thinking like, man, I've gotten some really good profits in the last month or two.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to just take all that off the table and just sit tight for the next 6 months. And if I lose 20% gains, I lost 20% gains, but at least I didn't suffer 20, 30, 40, 50% if we have a real crash after all of this.
Yeah. So Touche Films sent us a link, but I'm almost positive this is the video that we watched yesterday. Were you here, Touche Films, yesterday?
I don't think he was. I think he
or
was
did you?
MIA yesterday.
Yeah, this is what we watched yesterday. Come on, Chris. You can't miss an episode. Carl says, Trump has no say, the governors do. If things continue trending the way they are, which is badly, I have no doubt there will be more lockdowns. It's just, there's a lot of people who are super pissed about the lockdowns that we already had, and they feel like those lockdowns, I kind of agree, aren't pointless, but they didn't, there was never a chance that we could stop the virus. And everybody was honest about that at the beginning. It was just supposed to keep the curve lowered so that the hospitals don't get overloaded. We're not going to lower the amount of deaths or cases. We're just spreading it out.
Yeah.
That's what people said at the beginning. Then it turned into Trump saying it was going to be 2 million dead, and now it's just 100,000 dead, and I saved 1.9 million American lives. That's bull. Like, that got totally made up.
Remember, was it a month and a half, 2 months ago? We were like 68,000?
Yeah.
That's the direction we're heading? This is crazy. We're now double that.
Yeah.
What was the last prediction? Somebody said in August we would have like
200,000 dead.
We're definitely going to have that. What
Yeah.
are the numbers now? Like, I haven't looked at them in a while. Is it 100? Are we over 120,000 dead in America?
Yeah, 121,000.
Okay, so it is slowing. It feels like weeks ago that we hit 100,000.
Yeah, let's look at the.
Do we look at the numbers?
Let's look at these numbers. So daily new cases, you can see like a slight uptick here.
Do the 7-day average or 3-day average. That's a pretty. I mean, it's definitely a trend. There's a trend line there going up.
But again, I don't think this should really matter at all because we're doing way more cases or tests than ever before.
So let's go to the one that does matter.
Let's go to the one that matters. So
new
deaths by day. Look at that.
That's a weird graph.
Look at that. That tells me it's time to go to Universal Orlando.
I mean, it is a tale of two different graphs.
Mm-hmm.
But the daily death graph should lag the new case graph by a week or two, right?
Yeah, but I think if you were to go back and look, I mean, look at how insignificant this is. It's like, so 2 weeks ago we're at 22,000 in 7 days, and now we're at 24,000 in 7. I mean, that's almost nothing. And this is, this is for the entire United States, so I'm sure this would be much more significant in Florida. But I don't know. I don't know what to think. Lothrion Prime says, lost quarantine argument when encouraged protest. I agree. MM says, Patrick and Lee, super spreaders, safe travels. Yeah.
We are the safest people right now.
Well, we're not after today.
Oh boy.
And this is something else that I want to talk to you about. Today, we rode in an enclosed car with whom I have now deemed the dirtiest man in Palmas.
He does watch
One
our
of
show
our
from
buddies has been throwing parties and not caring at all about the coronavirus for the entire lockdown. And he's been doing poker games and everything. He was in the car with us today for an hour, windows rolled up, nobody wearing masks. What do you think about that?
You sat next to him and you chatted with him.
Dude, you've seen the models. You breathe, you talk, and it flies throughout the car.
He's also not died this whole coronavirus journal.
That's true, but he could have just now caught it 13 days ago, and tomorrow he's going to start showing symptoms.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you think is more dangerous? Being in the car with him for an hour,
or being in an airplane with a bunch
with
of
a mask
strangers for
on
2.5 hours?
Yeah.
Oh, with a mask on?
Yeah.
I mean, the more I read about these masks, it doesn't seem like the masks do anything. Like, they would if everyone wore them. But if the sick people aren't wearing the masks and I'm not sick and I'm wearing the mask, it sounds like the virus, like everything I'm reading about which mask to buy, I can't even get them in time. But they're saying the N95 mask is still, it's too porous for the virus.
Huh.
But, you know, like you said in the video you had a few days ago, it comes down to like how long are you around the virus? So maybe being in a car for an hour isn't that bad compared to living with somebody, or maybe being in an airplane with a mask that's still protecting you 95% of the time, or some of these masks say 99%, but maybe that's enough to keep the level, the viral load just low enough to where it's not a big deal. But it's when you take the mask off and then you live in an environment with the people, like that's the worst.
Touche Film says, the shame. Sorry for missing some shows. Been busy wrapping up the kids' school year. Going to be homeschooling next year like your friends in Puerto Rico. You know what, Chris? I do not forgive you. How dare you miss a show for your family?
I want to know what's happening. Are you staying in Chile, or are you having to leave, or are you choosing to leave?
Yeah, let us know. Carl says, don't let the high numbers early on fool you into thinking that we're doing good. The difference is due to the size of New York City and New Jersey, major outbreak being so big. That's absolutely true. I mean,
if you take away the first epicenter,
yeah,
and remove that.
Well, look, let's just pull up Florida numbers. Let's pull up Florida numbers. So Florida, COVID cases, maybe. Yeah, here we go. So we'll go full screen here. So new cases. I mean, look at. I mean, this is ridiculous compared to where it was. Like, you know.
What are we looking up now? Remind me.
So this is Florida daily new cases, and this is back here in April. 1,200 cases, and then it drops a lot during quarantine down to 600 a day, somewhere in there, and then boom, record number yesterday, 3,200 new cases. Now, that seems horrifying, but again, they're doing testing everywhere now for free in Florida, and it's very easy from what I hear. So you would imagine that way more people are getting tested, which is a good thing. So let's look at the deaths. The deaths have remained very consistent throughout this entire thing. If anything, we're a little bit lower than we were back, you know, in April, May, with peaking at like 83 deaths a day, and yesterday 43 deaths.
So if you had to make a graph here, the trend line, it would be pretty much plateaued. Can you take the deaths and say it's plateaued and then go back to the cases? I'm just wondering if there's a correlation here that like, okay, so the cases also was kind of a trend line straight across for that period of time. The deaths and the cases were all about the same the whole time. So
maybe
could you say that if the cases now are going up, in a week or two, the death rate, that is going to go up as well?
Maybe you could, because this right here, June 2nd, was right around 2 weeks ago. So maybe from now on, we should start seeing the death rate start to spike. Maybe.
Remember there was a day when we didn't have to worry about this stuff? It's kind of like,
no,
you remember the time before 9/11 when you could just get on a plane and you weren't worried that like anyone from any other country could just come and like potentially kill you, and there was no headbutting of like Muslims and Americans or Christians, and like all of these things that like 9/11 changed the world in so many ways. And I feel like here we are living in a pandemic world and we can't make sense. Like, I'm so over this, but there's no getting out of it. It's like a nightmare that just, we will make these stupid arguments all day long. And now, like, the more I interact with other people, I'm realizing I'm having to have these, maybe we're not having these conversations, but we're kind of having the conversations. When we go to a marina and everyone there is like, you can't come and look at boats unless you have the masks. And some of us have the masks and some don't. And we're like, we got to go get the masks. And then you got to be like, do you sell masks? No, but they do over. It's just like such a weird world, you know?
Yes, it is.
I'm the one who's just like, I'm going to carry the mask. I have the mask. I'm prepared.
Yeah,
like, I'm going to do it.
I need to do that.
But
I need to just always have one with me. Christine says, seriously, Patrick, guitar tomorrow.
If you help me, like, if I brought the amp and put it back there, I had the pedals.
We could, like, bring it, like, pipe the audio directly into the board.
Put a little mic in
sounding
That would be pretty sick. And then it'd be like little sound requests, and it'd be like every request is just like 10 seconds. And if I don't know it, I got to play something for 10 seconds, and maybe that'd be the biggest super chat ever.
Oh, I like this. And I'm trying to think if I could somehow get my drum kit over here. Probably
And
not.
people could super chat you to do like a jiu-jitsu move back there. Be like, hey, Lee, here's a super chat.
I'm going to do it to you.
No, you just have to like.
That's a great idea.
Do it here and be like, this is what I would do if I would do like this and Isn't that what you do?
I don't know about that. Leonessa says, check South Carolina cases, please. Should we do that? South Carolina. Damn, look, South Carolina looks the same.
Oh, boy.
But instead of having 3,000, we are maxing out at 1,000. But of course, who knows what our population is? Probably way less. But look at this. I mean, we were so low before. 100 to 200 cases a day for months in a row. And I mean, this is kind of the point. It's like, why did South Carolina have to be locked down for 3 months when they were having 200 cases max a day? That just seems so insignificant. And so now you've postponed it, and now of course it's going to go up. Nobody had it before. So same kind of thing. I mean, very consistent other than this crazy day. But even this crazy day is only 40.
Yeah, what do? You just pull that and disperse it over the next couple
yeah,
days?
you know, this is probably like, hey, some people from last month, we think they might have COVID. Let's add them all in one day.
Here's something I don't think we've talked about that we should talk about, is when we get to the United States and we find ourselves in Florida or Georgia or South Carolina or Alabama, wherever we go, maybe we go to, you and I were both talking separately about going to Asheville. You were like, I might go to Asheville. And I was like, we were thinking of going to Asheville. What do we do when all of a sudden the South becomes really bad? We're now stuck in the United States. I don't know that
Why would we be stuck?
Are you going to jump on a plane to get out of there and come to Puerto Rico when it's like if you're in New York when all of it was going down, are you going to try to get on a plane at JFK? Or are you like, I'm staying in my apartment and waiting this whole thing out?
I mean, it's never going to be as bad as Manhattan.
No, but it could be bad.
I just don't see it being that bad just because of the population density is so spread out.
But when everybody's like, I'm getting out of here, I'm getting out of here, I'm getting out of here, and everyone's flocking to the airports, that just feels like that could be the worst time to go and fly. And then my fear, I'm more scared of coming back to Puerto Rico because I don't know that I totally trust the healthcare system here. Going to Charleston or Florida or wherever, I feel like if you get sick, at least you're in an area where they're going to treat you and have pretty good systems. Here, I mean, you could be having a doctor speaking Spanish telling you you're getting a ventilator and you're like, what? I don't know what's going on. You know? I feel like that's my biggest fear.
Carl says the deaths lag behind new cases. They will come. We shall see. I'm sure there's going to be some uptick. It'll be interesting to see if it's... I cannot believe that the death numbers will be at the same rate as the new cases because I really think the increase in cases has to do with increase in testing. So there's certainly an increase in cases because everybody's let outside after 3 months, but I don't believe that it's going to be the same amount of deaths proportionally. Jose says, if you get COVID-19 first, can you get it a second time? We've talked about this. There have been many studies that say that so far they think that you cannot get it a second time, but they are a little unsure about how long your antibodies last. Carl says some people don't die until 30 to 60 days after getting it, especially those who are hospitalized. Some people are on vents for weeks and weeks. That's a good point. Mike says a woman in Denver has tested positive for COVID twice. Google Michelle Hart COVID-19. I will look into that. There was a guy who was talking about this in a video we did a month or two ago, and he was suggesting that being that the tests aren't very reliable, you could easily get a false negative or false positive. So he thought many people were contagious longer than they thought, and they thought they were over it and weren't contagious. They get tested later, and then they still have it, but they don't actually get it twice. Who knows? Photog Mike says, this is why Joe Rogan was trending. Left-wing media have completely ignored Biden in cognitive decline. Oh, okay. Yeah, Joe loves talking about that. It's always pretty funny.
He talks about Joe Biden a lot?
Yeah, like he's completely unfit to be president. He cannot speak. But, 95% of the time, 99% of the time, I feel like Joe Biden actually speaks really well.
He did pretty well in the debates, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's just every now and again, it's like he loses everything and he's unable to speak for a few moments, and that's when it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, but I do that.
Not as bad as him.
I get moments where I'm like, what am I saying? What am I doing?
All right, you ready to wrap this up? Once again, guys, if there's any clips from the last 90 episodes that you think we should put into
our super show,
yeah, tomorrow's episode will be the final episode. Email the link with a timestamp and a little sentence about why you think we should put it in to fstopperslive@gmail.com. We will be doing more content on this channel.
There's also a new video on F-Stoppers, the other channel.
So subscribe to both. We'll see you.